Again, back to Isay. So he's finished saying it's a bit advanced. We're in the middle of everything is relative. It's not that advanced, but it's a bit advanced. The Mitzin Abligvul is not that the Gvul itself continues endlessly. That's one chibur. That's the chibur of Zman. That's the inyan of Zman Nitzchius, the way it is, mitzad the Bria. He's going to say that there is an element when the world is perfect before Chet of Eitzadas, that it was that way to some degree. But at any rate, that's not the inyan of, so although that was initially mitzad the Bria, but derech klal, after Chet Eitzadas, it comes out, the kind of nitzchius is simply that the gvul itself continues by virtue of the Ratzon HaBeire forever. That's not true chibur of gvul and bli gvul. The true chibur is when every nekuda itself is nitzchius. The true yichud of Havaya Likim is that in the Likim Gufa Havaya is revealed. That's the true yichud. So now Bira Inyan, to revisit the Gemara that he didn't been a Habligvel and the Vroim Varuchniim. So we quoted the Gemara before the stir in the Psukim, the Gemara in Chagiga. Is there endless number of malachim or not? So the Gemara reconciled that the pasuk that mentions thousands upon thousands and myriads upon myriads, it's like a gvul. But with those are bligvul. That's one teretz. But there's the first teretz. Actually, there's three teretzim. The first teretz of the Gemara points to our kind of bligvul. A bligvul where the gvul itself is nitzchias. How so? Let's see the inside again. The machine is jammed. I'm sorry, so I couldn't make copies. Something's wrong with it. Hope you have it. You have it? Okay, guys, are good. So you say, Bira Inyan Dini Benegel, how bligvul than Evrahim Haruchniim. So with respect to the Malachim Lamaila, Yeshnag Matir Tzarishim Gemara is the first answer. In reconciling the Psukim, the Gemara answers there, the Mashakos Vayashim Mispel Gdudov, that there's no number, that's Koi Bizman Shebes Migdash Kaim. Mashakos of Elef Halafim Misham Sheni, and thousands upon thousands and myriads upon myriads, which is a finite number. So Koi Bizman Shem Beis Hamikdash Kaim. It's after the Beis Tachur Beis Hamikdash. Kavayochel Shenismaita Pamalya Shamayla. That is a result of the Churban down here, as it were, the heavenly Pamalya, the heavenly, literally, what the word I used last time, I forgot. It's not gathering. Pamalya is like no, yeah, host, but it means a
court, like a court, no?
Episodes, yeah, okay. Yeah. There's a word that escapes me now, sorry. My brain's a bit of a fog. So that's Kavayochel compromised as well. We understand? Because Lamaila reflects what happens Lamata. Yeah, so what does it come out according to this teretz? Bisman Shabes Hamikdash Hayakaya. It's not the second teretz of the Gemara that there's endless numbers of what? Of these gedudim of elef halafim, that they go on forever. The Gemara is separating the different zmanim. The second teretz is combine the two psukim together and you get bligvul. The first teretz says no. This is talking about the number. It's talking about there's no base in mikdash and ayesh mispal gedudov, meaning no number. So that is man Samid Yeshakayim. So the Rebbe is saying that teretz is saying that the bligvul is in the Gdudov. Mamish. Not the endless Gdudim. We're not saying that there's a finite number, they go on forever. Period. It's just an unqualified statement. Man Migdash Kayim, then there's no mispal Gdudov. And the implication here is that the Gdud himself, each detail of the Gdud, which means of the group, of the camp, is bligvul. That seems to be the pshat here. Ulefi zeh, He sends us to Ayin Beis. I didn't look it up. Maybe there's more about it. At any rate, according to this Pirush, which is separating the Psukim and saying Ayesh Mispalik Dudov, that stands, period. So there, that means that the bligvul is in every single prat, every single malach. Hayesh mispal gdudov, is there a number? So there's no number in the gdud, in every detail. So the point he's bringing it out is to say that that's true in a bligvul, where the bligvul, where a moment in time, in other words, is endless, is infinite. The time itself is limitless. So the pasuk, it's a pasuk in Tilim, right? The Beis Chanav HaKodesh, no, the end of the capital there. Hashem lo'erich yamim. So the Medrash says, praising Hashem unto the length of days. It's referring to the Yom Shekuli Orach, the day that's forever long. So we see here that in the day itself, it's Kuli Orach, it's endless. I'll explain, it's not long because it goes on endlessly, but at the outset, essentially, it is long, it's boundless. It's not that we see that we keep on observing it, hey, it's going on forever. And we see that the end, and there is no end, which is the nitzchis hazman we spoke of, mitzad the bria, at least post chet etzadas. So nitzchis hazman shenimshech tamid lo hefsek. That's like time that goes on continuously. That is, we're not speaking. That bligvul is sheyeshtam the kudis b'ribay bilti mugbal. Hashem adds a moment, another moment, and another moment. Even though he had it before, it's bekoyach. It's bekoyach in this man itself. Tzarech what that means. The bekoyach in this man itself to continue endlessly. Look what it means. I'm just suggesting, this is right at all. It means that this bekoyach that should just repeat this moment again. Okay, it's another one. Akoponim, that's not the bligvul we speak of. We talk about an arichos length of days, that at the outset it's such. Each point, each finite point is be'emes or expressive of bligvul. So the day itself does not have the limits of a day, which is a passage of time, but it is a day. But the day itself is forever. A dugmal is a fascinating illustration. You know what this is brought in Chassidus or not? I don't know. It doesn't bring any sources. At any rate, K'mashom Chazal says in Gemara, Sanhedrin Shabrak Kadosh Baruch Adam Arishan Doir V'Dorishav. The Eibush to show Adam Arishan all the future generations and all of the details. So what happened here? The Hindi Masha called Doir V'Doir. It wasn't like that which he showed him. Ein Zebei from Kloli. It wasn't a general overview, panorama of time. Like Rosh Hashanah, Shetzoyifu Mabid Atzif Kolat Hadoiris. Like we say, I'm sorry, not on Rosh Hashanah. Like we say on Rosh Hashanah in the Tefillah, that there's this element of the Eibush to looking and seeing to the end of all generations. That's a panoramic view. V'kol nitzkar b'skira achas. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, Hashem sees them all in one glance. And at that kind of view is not what we speak of here. There, Shekol HaProtim Nimtzoyim Barosh Beifan Kloli. There, at this Rosh head, they're all seen in a general way, in a nebular way. By Adam Arishan, this is Lifnei Achet. El Haroach B'chol Doir V'Doir, it said V'Doirshav. Each generation, Kvisha B'Proti is B'Peil B'Goloi. He saw the details, the manifested details of every generation of all time. What's the raya? That's why it's possible to say, as the Medrash goes on, the Gemara goes on to say, Shekiven, that Admo Shegila Derish Rabbi Akiva, when you saw Rabbi Akiva's generation, this is under, she talked about what Rabbi Akiva achieved. Samach Batirasa, he rejoiced in his Torah Admo Rishim and his Atzah b'misasai, and became saddened seeing his death. Which means he's seeing the details. He saw all of the details as they were manifested and actualized. The nimtzas, why is this a dogma? It comes out, on the one hand, he only saw this for a short time. In brackets, these counted hours, for which the Eibush is showing him all the future generations. How do you know it was only a few hours? Because the Three says he showed him. If he showed him everything in detail and saw it in real time, he's still watching. So obviously it was for a short time. And this was all before the Chet. It was the beginning of the Bria. So it was a very short time. He says a few hours at most. And yet, he's seeing in these few hours every single prat of the Bria. So that is how you believe Agbolas Azman. That's without the limit of time. That's why he saw all the details. The 6,000 years of the world will endure. He saw them actualized. Behind those, this is the diak here. Because he's going to say that this is only shaykh to avoid. Now in avoid we can make every moment forever. Adam Rishon had it. The outset of the Bria when the world was created whole, tailed days with a full vav, before the sin, then you could see this bligvul in gvul. But thereafter, it's only Toli and Avodah, and that's the whole purpose. Another illustration we mentioned before, assuming that he would say it, and he does, is the Beis HaMikdash. Likewise, that was time. That's illustration of time. Likewise, space. Time and space are bound with each other. Time is the measurement, the distance between 2 points. So where do we see it in Mokim? The Kadesh HaKadoshim, where we all were yesterday, right? In which was the Oren, Shemokim Oren, the Einim in Amida, that the Oren didn't take up any space. Behind those Afsha didn't mean it disappeared. The Oren itself was hard measurements. 2.5 amas in the length, 1.5 amas deep, 1.5 amas wide, high. And yet it's placed in the room that has 20 amas by 20 amas. And each side of the Oren, which occupied 2.5 amas, is 10 amas. Even though the entire space was 20 by 20 at right angles. Might clone the space, the place of the Oren didn't reduce the space at all. Because the place itself was hiding place. And yet, elsewhere in Chassidus is the diak that if the Oren wouldn't be made specifically, it wouldn't happen. It has to be made dafka according to the gvul of Torah. If it wasn't made according to, then this wouldn't happen. So that's even the bigger chiddush, that the gvul, the diak of the gvul itself is megala the bligvul. Why? Because it's Torah mitzvahs. The Eibush says, do it this way, with this precision. So on the one hand, it's, and we have to note that the pratim halacha are extremely precise. Time, space, color, weight, a spot of ink, a spot of milk, a spot of blood. It's extremely precise. And yet, dafk in that position, in the mitzvah is done, b'diyuk, it's mamshich the bligvul. That moment's forever. Just reminded somebody that I call every week, and unfortunately the person's suffering from Alzheimer's, etc. So when I call, it's good Yontif, good Shabbos, and it's a moment. The next moment she forgets. We're speaking to the children. I said, it doesn't matter. What's the point? Forget it. No, that moment's forever. Bemis forever. It's a neshama moment of a connection. Good Shabbos. How are you? Whatever the conversation is, and it's becoming increasingly limitless. But that's forever. The gvul itself is bli gvul. This is the true inyan of yichud havaylikim. Let's continue. Yeah. And this, to be mamshich, make every moment, not just, what's the expression they use today? Mindful. Got the word. It's not just mindful, it's divine, it's godly, it's forever. Huh? Yeah. This is done through Avodah of every Yid. We said in the previous Maimer. To my Mori Megosha Koloshin Avodah Hu, the Zohar says that what's Avodah Lifel Sayichad Avayvalikim Atam Mitzavim to effect. This is the mitzvah kadmo, the whole pekudei. This precedes every individual commandment. It's all about affecting and making the yichud avayvalikim. And I said, it's koich lazem ba'oren b'shebekadesh hakadoshim, and the empowerment comes from the oren kadesh hakadoshim, which, by the way, is still there. It's a gebaldik yichidish of the Rebbe that there's the oren. Right, we know the sicha is below the surface of the ground, in a room which is Kodesh HaKadoshim Adayim Hazeh. So this is forever giving the empowerment. Shabayi Achiba the Bli Gvul Gvul, that we should fuse Bli Gvul Gvul Boifin Shakvul Atzmi Hoya Bli Gvul. That wasn't the order, and that's empowering us. Shezal Mitisa Inyan the Vayalikim. Inyim Bazet Kedisa Begimara. The Gemara says Sha'oren Nignas. The order was hidden. Actually, several opinions. But the Rambam Paskins, the Aron was hidden. And the nations of the world did not have control over it. It's there. But concealed. And that's our avodah. So it gives us the koyach. And what do? Each yid lifel effects. That we should bring it out from the concealed state and the revealed state. Should we finish the Maimer? Yeah. So what was the Shaila? The Shaila was that the first question was that Ad is a limit. There's Ad Bachlal, Le'ad Bachlal. Even Le'ad Bachlal is implicit, implies a limitation in time, especially since in Torah every word conveys simultaneously, concurrently, and harmoniously all the perushim. And Shuva is bli gvul. The whole point of Shuva is bli gvul. You ever answer now? That's the point. And look, because Lo'ilam Vo'ed conveys also eternity. So this word Ad is the Chibur of Gvul and bli gvul, and that's the emes of Shuva. Let's have a look. The word Ad includes all Pirushim. Hey, not Pirushim Mer Al Yinakbola, both the meaning of till here and no further. The lowest Pirush, stop here and not further. Hey, not Pirushim Lash Nitzches, and the other extreme is Voed, La'ad Elol Mi'ilomim, Shazel Shal Bligvol, Bligvol. Again, he says this. Not only Bekoyach Bligvol, that it could repeat. That it can continue ad insof, but that's behelim. The actual bligvul, this moment is forever. Each moment is eternal. The Master is shown the details of all of humanity, all of existence in a matter, in the space of a few hours. This time was beyond time, canal, as explained earlier. That comes out of the word ad, ugvul. The very word ad conveys this fusion. Gvul atzmi nikir in the blikvol, that the gvul itself in it is seen timelessness and endlessness. And this is what the pasuk is saying. Yid is das Shuva ad havaya lekech. Ki achibur the blikvol ugvul shebeteves ad. This fusion is the inyan of ad havaya lekech. That's the further diak now. Meaning, Shuva Yisroel ad havaya lekech. That the whole Shuva is the ad, the fusion of havaya lekech. The gvul and blikvol, till here and forever. In Shuva, in Pashtus, we could say it means also, Ronnie, welcome. In Shuva, it means that Shuva has these two elements. On the one hand,
thank you, Rabbi.
On the one hand, Shuva is a cry from the neshama that's boundless, and moreover, he's in a state of breaking all limitations. He's changes his own limitations. So it's blikvol, and the extreme examples of Elazar Dudaya and his moment of Shuva, that his soul expired. I mean, the body couldn't contain this gewalt that welled up from the depth of his neshama. On the other hand, the character, what defines Shuva is precision and detail, and limits and boundaries. Very, we could say even that the boundary itself is infinite. Meaning, it's a not negotiable boundary in everything, even in his avodah. It's the fusion of both. It's boundlessness. It's a gewalt, and the gewalt is translated in the meticulous precision and attention to detail of avodah. Let's finish the final words. In such a way, nimshach begilu lamata, reveals in a revealed way down here. He's talking the avodah, the Shuva. He says these words, b'chol proti avodah, in every detail of his avodah. The tachlis is that the boundlessness of his Shuva, of that cry, shouldn't remain concealed. It should pervade and be revealed lamata. So it's translated in detail and in agbola and careful attention to detail, not negotiable detail. That's the tachlis. And that's what the pasuk goes on to say, that after saying Shuva Yisroel Levad Lekecha, then it says, Chui Mochem Dvarim, take words, express this in words, etc., for Shuva Lashem, implying that after the Dvarim, words, first is the cry of the shofar, it's not no words. His Shuva is not words, it's not a speech. And it can't even be put in words. But then it has to be Chui Mochem Dvarim, translated in words, in Agbola, Shayumshach Begilui Lamata, it should be drawn down Begilui Lamata. Okay. So we continue when, friends? On Monday, we'll start the new Maimon Mitzvah.